I'm really enjoying my life. I really like to be who I am. I'm a Chilean man living in Berlin. It's amazing. I'm living my whole potential. Even though that,
So far.
I have a pattern that I'm not planning to have it. And I'm a very expert about it. But I don't want it in my life anymore. I want to get rid of it, or unless I understand why this pattern is here in my life, and this is it. I create unexpected debt or unexpected expenses, money expenses. Some of them are very funny, and some of them are not so funny. The funny one, I can give you a little example. We went to see you when you were in Rome, in Italy. I was the only one from the group who got my wallet stolen. So I was unexpected. So I want to understand, what is this pattern trying to tell me? Why? What does the universe want to tell me?
Well, in the same conversation that we just had, you were going along with our conversation about trusting the process of your cells. And yet, if we ask you to trust the process of your life, you say, but there are patterns that I have been living that have my attention. And since these patterns that I have been living have my attention, they are part of my vibration. Haven't you noticed that when something happens, it is more likely to happen again? And the reason that it is more likely to happen again is because your attention upon it continues to invite it or continues to include it. Did you hear us talking about when you push against what you don't want? We just had that conversation just now, again, in a different way. When you push against something, when you say, no, 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 I do not want it. Since there's no exclusion in this universe, there's only attraction. Every time you say no to it, you're actually saying, come to me, this thing I do not want. So it feels tricky. How can I not notice what's been happening? Well, that's what we were talking about. That's reacting. You're reacting to what's been happening. And so as you give that little example of something like that happened, as you reacted to what happened, and even now as you tell the story, you react again, and so do those who hear you. They're still reacting. That's reacting. That's not even close. That's not at all what we mean by getting out ahead of it. So if you were to enter a segment and you were to say, today my wallet will not be stolen. Is that what we're talking about, getting out ahead of it? Or is that thinking about the wallet being stolen and trying to use words to prevent the wallet from being stolen now? So that's not getting out ahead of it. So what is getting out ahead of it? Identifying how you want to feel in this segment that's coming up. This is going to be a really fun day. I'm going to see all kinds of things that I haven't seen before. New insights are going to occur to me and the friends that I'm with. The universe is going to be extra able to surprise and delight us with things that we like. In other words, segment intending would be a very powerful tool to cause the next segment to be different from that segment. So what you're talking about, this is the subject that we are on all day, every day, if you will sit and listen to us. And it's the subject of, how can I have lived some life and had some experiences and not drag each and every one of those experiences forward with me into the next segment? Because if you've lived life and good things have happened and you're talking about them, and not such good things have happened and you're talking about them, that's like segment intending by default. That's like bringing who you have been and the things that have been happening, the surprise debt. You call it surprise debt. The surprise debt keeps coming forward with you because it's not a surprise. It's like a plan, because you keep talking about it. The universe isn't surprising you with it. The universe is delivering to you what you expect.
Unconsciously, because I'm not thinking about those situations.
But you see, you just told us a story.
I told you the story to make it, the question, but I'm not, I don't get up every morning to say, I want to
So in this arena, we are an exception to the law of attraction. In this arena, we are exception to the laws of the universe. We understand you're giving an example, but you see, Isn't this something that is happening to you a lot? Aren't you standing where you're standing? We're talking about any moment in time where you're contemplating who you are. And aren't you often sort of presenting yourself to the world through your stories of what you've lived? Even if you had not said anything about it, your words just reflected the vibration that you've got going on. So this is the question. This is the all-time question of all time. This is the question that if we can together identify and isolate the question, and if we can together identify and isolate a way around that, then this thing that has been happening to you won't continue to happen to you, because you'll be offering a different point of attraction. And so what is it? And here's the question. How can I stop the continuity of things that I've lived in the past that have come right up to the now, where I perceive myself to having been the liver of all of that? But you don't only perceive yourself to having been the liver of all of that. You perceive yourself to be the owner of all that you have lived. Don't you? Don't you define yourself by what happened? In the 3rd grade, that happened. In the 4th grade, that happened. And when I was in Rome, that happened. And it didn't happen to anybody else, but it happened to me, special me. So without meaning to, just through awareness of life, which is focus of life, there is a pronouncement of your state of being. You're pronouncing your state of being. Now, let's take this example. You've lived some experience where debt keeps happening, and you are aware of it, and you don't want it, and you're aware of it, and you don't want it. But you're aware of it. So how are you going to stop being aware of it? Well, you can't stop being aware of it. Well, how are you going to stop amplifying it? Well, you could stop talking about it, but it's hard to stop talking about it because you're aware of it. What would it take to no longer bring unwanted continuity forward into the now and into the future? How do you break that cycle? By no longer talking about it. But how do you not talk about something? By talking about something else. How do you not observe it? By observing something else. That's why we're saying, rather than waiting till something happens and reacting to it, you see, that's what's happening here, and it's perfectly normal, and we appreciate it. It's really what this forum is about. This happened to me, and I'm reacting to it, and part of my reaction is I'm telling you what happened, and I'm asking you, and we say that's reacting to something that happened. Or you could never speak of that again and stand in your now, looking forward by segment intending what you do intend. Segment intending about what you want. Really, it's fair for us to tell you, you're segment intending in every day of your life, but you're not positively segment intending. You're segment intending by remembering that in Rome, your wallet got stolen. And so in this moment, you are putting yourself in that vibrational place. So you're saying to the next phase of life, this is what happens to me. This is what happens to me. This is what happens to me. Because you're creating by default. You're reacting to what happened rather than intending otherwise. Conceptually, that's easy to understand, isn't it? So here's the big question. We want to state it again because we want this question to be alive and active within you, because the universe will answer you over and over and over again when you've got an active question within you. Universe, I'm happy with what I've lived, and I'm happy with where I'm going. How can I keep from messing up where I'm going with what I've lived? How can I stop regurgitating life? How can I break the patterns that my family has taught me, or the patterns that I've taught myself? You set yourself up for the perfect question here. You said, I keep doing this. I continue to do this. And we wanted to be sort of glib and snarky about it by saying, that's how. That's how. It's by repeating the story. So we've been saying for a while that you can't all of a sudden just stop thinking something. We don't want you to get a lobotomy. And we don't want you to be rigid and say to yourself, okay, I'm never going to tell that story again. I'm not going to do it again. I'm not going to do it again. I'm not going to do it again. I'm not going to tell that story 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 again. Well, guess what? That story is more active right now while you've decided that you're not going to tell that story again. You might as well tell it. Might as well tell it, because deciding not to tell it is just like telling it. It's like keeping a secret of blockage within yourself. I'm screwing up my life. I'm just not letting you all in on it by deciding that I'm not going to tell you that story. So segment intending is deciding what story you want to tell. What's the story that you want to tell? What components of the life that you've lived and of the being who you are, what components do you want to keep renewing?
All the others that I have, which are really pleasing me.
So
My talents.
all of the other pieces of me, my talents, really good answer, and really general answer. And a really general answer, hear this, you're going to like this. This is the work at its best. Really, a positive general answer. You with us? A positive general answer will serve you when you've got a negative general statement. If you have a general idea of my talents and a general idea of life that you've lived, then the general positive statement is powerful. But if you've got a general positive statement and a specific negative one, guess which one is going to be more active right now? The specific negative one. And why? It has more momentum because it's specific. You with us? So you got to start with something general, because maybe you can't start with something specific, but you've got to get the specific positive things really going. You just can't say my talents. Too general. Make it more specific. We know that you're getting the idea that we're offering about the segment intending. So here you are in a segment of life, and your inner being is here with you too, and you're high on life about something, and you've been in the habit of doing some segment intending. And so can you feel what it does feel like? Of course you can, because you do it all the time, of getting hold of a general concept and thinking about it enough that it becomes really, really specific to the point that that's what you want to think about and that's what you want to talk about.
Yeah.
So for example,
I do music since I was 7 years old.
Yes.
And it's my passion.
Yes.
And when I'm with a guitar singing with people, I can really create a nice atmosphere.
Yes.
I feel loved by
Yes.
others. I can really inspire people to sing along with me.
Yes.
That's for the music. And
Now, can you feel the specifics of that? Can you feel the bigness of that specificity in relationship to the other? And can you feel how now that is the dominant vibration right now, and the other stuff that we started out talking about is irrelevant and inactive in this moment? You took this moment in time and directed your point of attraction to something that will not only allow the cells of your body to do what they want to do, because you're not in the way at all, but you let your life in specific relationship to the subject that's on your tongue thrive too. You see how it goes?
yeah,
If something's really, really bothering you and you say, things always work out for me, well, that's better than focusing on something really bothering you. But a statement like that usually won't carry you very far, because what's really bothering you is going to keep tugging on you. But if you continue to segment intend and segment intend and segment intend until you show yourself unequivocally that where you focus, that the vibration flows, and you begin watching the universal response to your more and more specific statements in the moment, you begin to feel like a maestro that is directing the entire universe to things that are important to you moment by moment by moment by moment by moment. When you are orchestrating your life, no one with a different intention can take your money. It just cannot happen. No one can take your money unless you are a vibrational match to that. And you might say, Jerry said it to us, especially in the beginning, often. He said, but wait a minute, Abraham. He said, I didn't expect that to happen until it happened. I don't think I was running around expecting that to happen. And we said, you were, it just wasn't conscious enough that you knew you were. But there was a vibration that was going on. And so isn't it helpful if you've got a vibration going on that it gets big enough that you know it's going on? And when it's big enough that you know it's going on until it starts manifesting, then you can make a deliberate intention to be more specific about the segments that you're moving into. And if you do it consistently, you will show yourself, because the universe will show you, that the entire universe is listening to you. But if you say, universe, never let anyone pick my pocket again, they'll line up. People that have never picked anybody's pocket will pick your pocket.